the people who look like they're trying to stand out, they stand out in the wrong way. They wait for you in the hall, and they come and make their pitch, and their pitch is kind of prefabbed and not authentic.
I think it's safe to call you a wildly successful man here. So let's look at that for the listeners who just heard what you have to say, and they're sitting there saying, well, all right, let's say I want to get on Mitch's radar, right?
Yeah.
So, how do I stand out? What's your advice for those people?
I find that the best way to stand out, I tell this to a lot of people, is to try. Number one, authenticity. And Gary Vee talks about his authenticity, and I think he is authentic. I think he's transparent and et cetera. I hope I am too. But so the people who look like they're trying to stand out, they stand out in the wrong way. They wait for you in the hall, and they come and make their pitch, and their pitch is kind of prefabbed and not authentic. And those are the people that I cast aside much more easily than someone who has a much more natural approach and enters a much more natural discussion, who it seems at least doesn't have a motive and expectation of how this interaction is going to end. That doesn't sound like advice that's clear, but all of this planned kind of unauthentic approach, I think it turns off more people than it turns on. So saying to someone, be authentic, they may say, well, what does that mean? Well, it means try to act naturally as if you're meeting someone that you don't hold in this super high esteem, that you're not thinking that I have 30 seconds to impress this person. The person might be impressed if you know a little bit about them, and you say, hey, I saw a podcast with you, and I read that same book, and I thought it was great too. Just wanted to tell you that, something like that. I've been a big hockey fan my whole life. That's my dream. Just wanted to say, hey, congratulations on that. That's great. And that's a conversation. Not, I've always wanted to work for a hockey team. How can I send you my bio to work for the Kraken? Yeah, well, there's 50,000 people who want to work for the Kraken. I understand, and I understand the dream, but that's probably not the way to get there.
Proximity in life matters, especially if you're trying to grow a business, right? So being in the right room with the right people, I think, is super important to success. How do people get in your room?
Yeah, it's a tough one to answer. It's a really tough one to answer. People ask me, things like this all the time, like, oh, what's your secret? And my secret is that you will never live exactly my life. You need to find a path that works in your life. I'm going to give you an example. Some people might say to me, oh, you speak without any, you don't seem very nervous, even if you're speaking in front of 10,000 people. And I say, well, I did a radio show back in 1991 for 3 hours, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. on a local cultural radio station that I bought the time on and sold sponsorship on. And for the first months of that radio show, I got no calls, which means, and there was no internet, which means I spoke for 3 hours without stopping, without a guest, without anyone else to talk to. I was forced into being able to talk for 3 hours without anyone to talk to. Now, can you replicate that? No, but you may do something else that makes you equally at ease speaking to people in front of people. So to get into my room, I think that I've gotten into most rooms that I've gotten into by not planning to be there. And I know that's, again, I don't like to make up advice, but I might sit next to someone on an airplane and see a sticker on their laptop and ask them, oh, you work for Oracle. Yeah, and the person turns out to be the CFO of Oracle. And you end up with this conversation. And I'd say that many of the people that I've met along the way, I've met them not on purpose. So, but that having been said, and this is probably my best advice story, which is back in 2003, I was invited to a dinner for future Prime Minister Paul Martin. at the upstairs lounge of a restaurant. Now in 2003, I didn't have a really nice suit and I didn't have anyone to go with. And I wasn't invited with my wife. And it was a Sunday night. So I said to my wife, I'm not going. I don't want to go. And she said, you have to go. You don't know who you're going to meet there. I said, yeah, but you know what? I'm alone. I don't feel like I look, I look the part. I'm not that into it. She said, go. Sunday night, you have nothing to do. You're going to sit home. Now, I went to that dinner. I sat at a table next to someone I didn't know. And that person was the chairman of a public company that ended up buying the company that I was the then CEO of. And that company turned into Optimal, which turned out to be a big NASDAQ success, which today is PaySafe. And I ended up being offered the CEO job at Party Gaming in London, in England, in Gibraltar. And I moved there. And I ended up meeting the founders of Apollo and TPG, who asked me if I wanted to start a subsidiary of Caesars, which I did. And I moved back to Canada. My point is, I went to the dinner. If you stay home, you're not sitting next to the guy that might buy your company. If you're afraid that you don't fit in, you're not going to meet that person that you would meet otherwise. If you're afraid that your tie is not nice enough, so what? Go. So that is one piece of advice, is go. Be there. Be everywhere. All right. Just don't make it so obvious that you're trying so hard. Holding the bat too tight in baseball and holding your club too tight in golf. You can do it in life too. So I would just say, be yourself and try to develop confidence, and don't feel out of place. No one's judging you. You're judging you. The other people in the room aren't even paying attention to you enough to judge you. So I would worry less and I would go more.
I think that's great advice. And I think that's not talked enough about. I think you actually try to protect yourself by saying, you don't want to give like fluff advice out there almost, but I think that's perfect. I think most people sit on the sidelines and they wonder why not them, right? And you have to get in the game. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want, check out our most recent video over here. And this one is the one YouTube thinks you'll like. But if you really enjoyed watching, please do me a favor, like and subscribe over here. Thank you so much.